Welcome to EPG Pathshala. This is Dr. Ankush Ambardar from Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra. Today, I'll be taking up a topic from tourism and hospitality, that is front office operations and management, and the name of the module is body language. In this unit, we will be learning certain aspects related to body language, such as the concept and components of body language, basic rules of reading body language, managing body language to create positive first impression, using right body language while handling difficult situations. Well, hospitality industry has emerged as one of the pivotal service sector which contributes immensely to the growth of Indian economy. As per the recent report published by India Brand Equity Foundation, IBEF, in year 2017, this industry is expected to generate 2.3 million jobs in hotels and 10.49 million jobs in restaurants. To become part of such a burgeoning industry, one should possess right skill set as required by this dynamic, people-oriented and competitive industry. In the wake of first competition, hotel facilities and amenities are no longer the only criteria to get an edge over competitors. The competitive edge can be gained with the support of professional and skilled human resources. By focusing on skilled human resource, hotel will be able to differentiate on the basis of quality of service and not price. For this, hotel needs those employees that has right combination of knowledge, skills, and attitude. Out of these three, it is the right attitude which determines the usefulness of the rest too. Particularly for front office, which acts as face of the entire hotel, employees having positive attitude is prerequisite to create positive first impression. First impression is important because first impression can be the last impression. Therefore, it is imperative that the first encounter with guests at front office must be handled carefully as it may affect the stay and overall image of the hotel in the mind of the guests. Hotel being service industry where human beings are involved on both the sides of service encounter, and it becomes important for the front office staff to learn the way to craft right impression, and this can be done by mastering the art of communication, that is verbal as well as non-verbal. Both verbal and non-verbal communication plays pivotal role while creating first impression, but as stated by Albert Mehraban, through the communication model given in 1950s, only 7% communication is done verbally, words only, and 38% is through tone of voice, other sounds extra, and 55% is through body language, which signifies that a consideration 93% of total communication is done non-verbally, that is without words. The act of giving or exchanging information without taking help of spoken or written words is called non-verbal communication. This type of communication happens with the help of body movements, space, time, tone of voice, and physical context. Thus, non-verbal communication consists of following subparts. Number one, body language is the study of physical movements of the body. Two, proxemics is the study of personal space around an individual and the way different space zones communicate. Third, time language. It is the study of meaning we give to time and the way we communicate it to others. Next is paralanguage. The study is how something is said. Next is physical context. It is the study of how our physical surroundings like color, layout, design, etc. communicates. Out of these subparts of nonverbal communication, the current chapter will give a detailed description of body language and its importance with special reference to the hotel front office. Body language, as discussed till now, the communication is much more than the words. When we converse with each other, we not only judge the speaker by what we hear, but also by what we are, that is, by taking signals from their actions and the movement of their body. You must have observed that sometimes you can convey the desired message without using any words. For example, pain, fear, smile, disappointment, pleasure, love, and support, etc., can easily be expressed by signals without requiring words for expression and clarification. This way of communication through gestures or body movements or signs is called body language. The following section deals with meaning and components of the body language. Number one, body language exists since times immemorial before the evolution of vocal sounds into words, sentences, paragraphs, etc. It is only in nearly last 60 years that the body language is being studied seriously and people have published literature on the subject. Also known as kinesis, body language is study of physical movement of body like face, arms, hands, legs, head, etc. Kinesis is derived from Greek word kinesis, which means motion. The way we position our head, shoulders, hands, arms, legs, and the way we move our eyes, face, and fingers reveals our state of mind and inner feelings, like our emotions, attitude, mood, thoughts, more than what we may want to convey through the words. The verb tense of body language, as per the Oxford English Dictionary, is body language, noun, the conscious and unconscious movements and postures by which attitudes and feelings are communicated. For example, his intent was clearly expressed in his body language. Body language has some peculiar characteristics, like it is involuntary. For example, we smile seeing our friend. We may frown looking at the people throwing the garbage in the open, etc. It cannot be faked easily. It can only be read by experts, and it is often read in cluster in context to get the complete and correct message, as one gesture doesn't tell the whole story. Positive body language offers many benefits. Example, it helps you to connect with others in better way, to have better interpersonal communication skill, to display right attitude at the workplace, to handle complex situations effectively, and finally, to create a positive first impression. Thus, it is imperative to learn and know about positive body language. Now, components of body language. Each part of our body communicates about our inner feelings, and every movement of body part has specific meaning and interpretation. In order to understand and interpret them correctly, academicians have clubbed different body movements in 5 broad categories. These are called components of body language, which are as follows. Number 1, personal appearance. Number 2, facial expression. Number 3, eye contact. Number 4, gestures. And number 5, postures. So we'll deal with personal appearance first. By personal appearance, we mean clothing, hair, jewelry, cosmetics, etc. It may look at first glance that personal appearance is not related to body language. However, it validates all aspects of body language like face, eyes, gestures, and postures, and gives meaning to them. In general, people thinking that personal appearance does not have influencing effect on the conversation, but it does have. Our appearance conveys how we want to be seen by others. A famous writer has said that a man is recognized by his dress and address, that is, the personal appearance and the way person speaks. Particularly in hotel industry, personal appearance is of utmost importance as it tangibilizes the intangible aspect of service and gives quality assurance. Thus, well-groomed personal experience is essential for hotel staffs that are part of service delivery and are in direct contact with the guests. Second, facial impression. It is rightly said about the face that face is the index of the heart. Face is the most visible part of the body and gets the maximum attention. Our facial expressions reflects what we feel deep inside. However, signals on face are generally fittings. Therefore, it is important front office staff to maintain positive facial expressions and at the same time certainly observe the facial expressions during the conversation as it helps to understand need and want of the customer in a better way. Facial expressions like smile, laughter, wide open mouth, and lowered head convey different types of feelings. We all can easily identify when a person is feeling sad, angry, happy, afraid, amused, etc. by looking at facial expressions. Next is eye contact. Eyes are most important part of the face and are said to never lie. Eyes are considered as mirror of our soul. Eyes, along with the facial expressions, communicate feelings and messages more than any other part of human body. For an effective communication, eye contact is important. In general, eye contact during the interaction conveys interest while lack of eye contact indicates boredom and lack of interest. In eye contact, there are two important aspects: intensity and duration of eye contact. Brief eye contact during the conversation indicates nervousness, embarrassment, while eye contact for long period of time shows the strength of interest. During eye contact, gazing is natural. However, prolonged gaze can be taken as rude or threatening. When you are in business conversation, then use business gaze, in which we look into the area between eyes. If you lower your gaze further in between eyes and mouth, forming a triangle shape, it will be social gaze, conveying a feeling of closeness and informality. Shifting the gaze further, lower from face downwards to collarbone or further to cheek, forming an inverted triangles with narrowing gaze downwards, will be intimate gaze, that is, eyes are venturing into intimate zone of the person, which is not recommended during professional conversation. Other eye expressions can be wide-eyed, that is, real eyebrows coupled with dilated pupils, convey the feeling of surprise, excitement, while the opposite, lowered eyebrows with constricted pupils, reveals the feeling of anger and pain. While inferring the meaning of eye signals, it should be done in totality with other facial expressions and body movements of the person. Next is gestures. Gesture is another important constituent of kinesis. Gestures are the physical movement of head, arms, hands, legs, which helps in conveying our feelings. Ekman and Friesen have identified 5 types of gestures as emblem. A large number of body movements generally replace the verbal message and thus becomes the emblem, like nodding head up and down, conveying yes. Yawning depicts boredom. Forming a V shape with index and middle finger conveys the victory, etc. Illustrators, these gestures supplement the verbal messages and are directly related to it. For example, when a speaker says, start introducing yourself, starting from right and points his head towards the right, this gesture is illustrator. Regulators, these gestures are used to control the verbal communication by sending the signal to the speaker, like to hurry up, to repeat something, or slow down, etc. For example, when a person is stretching the speech beyond the stipulated time, then moderator may show the watch thus signaling to wind up the speech. displays. It expresses the emotional or inner state of the speaker, like anger, embarrassment, etc. Though facial expression, where speaker has less control over it. For example, our face turns red in embarrassing situation and we hardly have any control over it. Adapters. These are the gestures where people display them unconsciously and hardly have control over it as they are not planned. For example, putting hand over the mouth while yawning, putting hands on the face in fear, etc. Other types of gestures include movement of hands, finger gestures, palm gestures, handshake, hand-to-face movements, hand-to-nose gestures, arm and leg gestures. During the conversation, gestures are natural and unplanned and may convey about our personality. For example, positive gesture like open palm, leaning towards the guest, equal handshake, eye contact with the guest, etc., portrays a person as confident and interested in conversation, while the negative gestures like biting nails, tapping feet, crossed arms, around chest, pointing a finger towards someone, too hard handshake or limp handshake, standing too close to the person, touching nose time and again, etc., indicates nervousness and disinterest, thus creates a negative impression. As gestures are spontaneous and conveys emotional state of the people, it is important that they should be interpreted according to the specific situation and in totality rather individually. Next is posture. Another important component of kinesis is posture. Our posture conveys information about how an individual presents herself, how she relates to others, and how others relate to him or her. In short, our postures communicate even in the absence of gestures. It includes both standing and sitting postures. A person who is confident will have different posture than a person with timed personality. In formal meetings or in interviews, people are most conscious about their postures, like by keeping upper body erect, holding high head, etc. To show high confidence level, postures also convey the interest you have in others during the conversation. Example, lean forward posture conveys interest while sitting back signals opposite. The positive standing posture can be standing erect facing the person while in conversation. Open palms, limited leg movements while slouching head sideways face during the conversation, standing with arms crossed on cheek, putting hands inside the pockets, cross legs, haunching while sitting are negative postures. Next is rules of body language. Number one, reading. There are 3 C's, body movements through very obvious and natural yet demands considerable hard work and meticulous observation during their interpretation. To read and interpret body language correctly, it is mandatory to follow the 3 golden rules called the 3 C's. Following is the brief description of 3 C's. Rule 1, cluster body language should be interpreted in combination with other gestures and circumstances, not individually. This is called gesture cluster. These clusters help to understand body movements in totality. For example, scratching head could mean lying, forgetfulness, and uncertainty on one side, whereas this gesture can be due to dandruff or leching or on other side. When studied in combination with words used as well as other gestures like facial expression, eye contact, the correct interpretation of this gesture can be made. Therefore, one should read the body language in totality, that is, a number of gestures give meaning and should match with the verbal message for correct reading. Rule 2, congruence. Researchers have found that nonverbal signals are about 5 times more impactful than the verbal signals. It has been observed that when verbal message and non-verbal signals are not in congruence, then people count on non-verbal clues more and ignore the words. Therefore, while interpreting body language, it should be in congruence with what person is saying and with the tone of voice. For example, if people sitting with crossed arms and looking away repeatedly during a concert but verbally compliments the performance, it signifies incongruence in verbal and non-verbal communication. In such a case, meaning will be derived more from non-verbal signals than words. Rule 3, context. In addition to clusters and congruence, all the non-verbal signals should be interpreted in context in which they occur. For example, if a person is sitting with arms and legs tightly crossed in winters, that means person is feeling cold. However, same posture and gesture during the business meet conveys disagreement and disinterest in the meeting and is not open to new ideas. Similarly, scratching neck may signal uncertainty. However, it could be itching problem as well. Reading body language is a very difficult and it takes years of experience to become expert on it. Next, front office and body language. The above discussion clarifies the usefulness and prominence of body language for creation of everlasting positive first impression. It is indispensable for front office staff of the hotel to project a positive body language during their interaction with guests so that a positive image of the hotel is formed. This will determine the success of the hotel in the wake of present competitive business environment. In the present section, a brief description of expected body language during the guest cycle stage is given as do's of body language. Also, body movements that should be avoided by the front office staff are listed as don'ts of body language. Number 1, personal appearance. Now, do's for it. One should have neat and tidy appearance, should follow the dress code of the hotel. Personal hygiene should be maintained. Look should be conservative in all aspects and should get up with the work culture of the hotel. Now, don'ts. Should not look shabby and untidy. The employee should be in casual dress should be avoided during working hours. Long and brittle nails, untrimmed beard should be avoided. Flashy makeup, ornaments, accessories, strong odors should be avoided. Second is facial expression. Now, do's for that. Always wear a smile, whatever be the personal and professional circumstances. Don'ts. A grin and the face is a big no. Next, eye contact. Now, do's for that. Maintain eye contact to show respect and interest. Follow business gaze during interaction. Handshakes should be firm, upright, and vertical. Don'ts for it. Lack of eye contact signifies inattention and lack of interest. Avoid long stares and intimate gaze. Knuckle grin and dead fish handshake. Touching of face with hands again and again should be avoided. Next is gestures. Now, do's for that. Head position should be fitted a little to one side or the other, respectiveness and friendliness. Arms should always be out to the side of body or behind the back, reflecting openness and receptiveness. Don'ts for it. Should not turn away head unnecessarily while communicating with the guest. Crossing of arms should be avoided. Next is postures. Now, do's for it. Should have active posture when with an erect spine, head held high and projecting forward, leaning shoulder while in conversation with the guest. Now, don'ts for it should avoid shoulders down and inward. To sum up, on the basis of above table, it can be said that in order to create everlasting positive impression on the guests, the staff of front office should learn and practice the above stated positive body language. One should also learn to read the body language, which in order to recognize the mood and attitude of the guest and thus helps in handling the guest and situations effectively and efficiently. Now, to summarize this unit, this module has discussed at length the importance of body language for front office staff of a hotel. This has been done by introducing the concept of non-verbal communication first, and then by describing meaning, components, and general reading rules of body language. Finally, the module highlights the positive body language that front office staff must possess while communicating with the guests and other staff of the hotel. Communication first, and then by describing meaning, components, and general reading rules of body language. Finally, the module highlights the positive body language that front office staff must possess while communicating with the guests. Thank you for watching EPG Pathshala. This was Dr. Ankush from Kurukshetra University.